Okay, so this is our GPC setup that we're going to look at today. So there's a few different components that we're going to look at. So this is the main kind of control panel. And if we kind of just pop this out, so we have the UV detector and in here. And then if we pop this guy open, so here we have our column. There are a lot of different columns, so you can choose the one that's correct for you. But just one thing, you just want to check all the tubing, make sure it's all kind of, going to the places you want to go to. If you do or don't want it to hit the UV detector, things like that. Here we have the sample loading. And so here's plate 1 and plate 2. So we can stick our samples in here. And each one of them is numbered. So since this is plate 1, this is the first one here, it'd be 1 dash, I don't know, this one would be 27, or no, this one would be 18. And then we also have more on this side. So then this is plate 3, and then this is plate 4. And then over here, we have our injector. And then this is our MALS, and this is our DRI. And then on top here, and then over here on top, we have all of our different solvents. So they're labeled A, B, C, D. And then if you kind of flip these over, you can see, this is just rinse. But this one is B, for example. So you can always look and see which one it is. You don't have to trace it through too much. All right, so here on the control panel, there's a few things. So right now, there's a few different solvents we mentioned up here. There was solvents A, B, C, and D. So right now we can see that it's pulling from D. So ISO means it's only grabbing from 1. If we tap that, we can then switch it or have a mix of some of the different liquids. And then also for this, so right now we're pulling from D, but if we tap this, we can select some of the other solvents as well. Here we have the flow rate. So we have, right now it's set to 1 ml per min, so you can change that. And then over here, if we want to turn on the oven, we can change that temperature. For this, we can tap on it and then select the detector and then hit that. And then here we can also select our detector wavelengths. And then as needed, you can hit on the purge and then also the rinse by tapping these. And then once that looks okay, then over here in this top right corner, we can go to sequence tables. So this can help us set some of our runs. So if we click on this one and then we hit edit the pencil, we can select what plate you're in. So are you in plate 1, 2, 3, or 4? So they're labeled for you. Sample number, so let's say you have 10 samples, you can go from 1 through 10. If you just have 1, you'll just do 1 to 1. And then here you'll also put the injection volume. For runtime, you just want to make sure it's appropriate for your sample. So make sure it's long enough that it's capturing all the data, but depending on what you're running. And then if we hit OK, take us back here. If we press the down button and then the pencil and then hit OK, then we have made a duplicate. So that's one way to do it. If you didn't want that, you can then hit this eraser to delete that one. But once you're kind of all set here, then we can click on this. If we go back to analysis, then it'll bring us back to the main page. And then if you hit run, it'll start running. But first we're going to set up the other detectors so we can have it all run all at once. All right, so the next thing we need to do is equilibrate. So to do that, you're going to want to make sure you have the solvent that you want to run in the system. And then you'll want to essentially just flush it, ideally overnight. And then you want to make sure as well that the lasers are on for both of them while this is happening. So this laser's on, and then this laser's on. And then for here, you also want to make sure that the purge is also on for at least maybe an hour just before you run your sample. And then one way to check is, so if we go to the graphs for both of these, when they're both pretty much essentially close together and flatline, and they're not jumping up and down a whole lot, these bumps, not the greatest, but it's okay. Then that's a good sign. Also, if we go back to the dashboard, so the fact that these are all green means this one's all ready to go. This one, some of them are red and orange, so Usually you'd want to wait till they're all at least orange, so that's okay to run. Ideally, of course, all green. All right, so now we're going to open up the program. It's called Astra, so we're going to double click this over here. And once it's all loaded, we're going to be in experiments, and then we're going to go ahead up here and click on Method Builder. So here we want to go ahead and we're going to make a user profile. So we're going to label the username. So that's going to be whatever your name is. For sample, so we're just going to call this test, so you can name your sample. For the application, just select whatever thing you think you have. And then you can select separation or batch and calibration and so on. Save method as, that's going to be like the name of your sample. So we'll just once again do test, but you can put the name of your sample here. We'll go ahead and click next. And here we want to select instruments. So first down in the bottom left, click instrument search. It'll go through and it'll find our MALS and DRI detector. All right, so we'll select our MALS detector, so light scattering. And then we'll also select our refractometer over here on the right. If you wanted to run the UV as well, you can select that if you'd like. For light scattering, just double check. So we're going to use this instrument value. So click that one. And then for auto inject receiver, we're going to hit LS for light scattering. And then once you have all that, we can go click next. For parameter inputs, we'll put that info down. So our sample, it's 143. For solvent, just make sure it matches. So we're using THF, so we'll select that. Injection volumes, we put 100. Duration, so whatever you put on the computer, you want to add a little bit extra just to make sure it captures everything. You can always end it early if needed. We put 25 minutes on the other instrument, so we're going to head and put 30, just give it a little extra time. And then for flow rate, we had 1 mil per minute. And we're going to go ahead and keep this on manual for data processing, and we'll show you how to do that later. So generate. All right, so now it's set it to the default run. So you can either hit run now or run later. If you hit run later, then when you hit run default later on, whenever you're ready, you're good to go. We're going to go ahead and select run now. And if you see any of these errors, just hit cancel. Okay, so now it's ready to collect data. So it's waiting for the auto inject signal. So now you can go to the control panel and go ahead and hit run, and then it'll run your measurement. All right, so once you finish running your program, this might appear. So we're going to go through and manually select those baselines. So we'll select OK. So now we'll go through one by one, and then we'll draw the baseline. So we'll just draw something like this. Then go through and just draw it for the other detectors, something like that. Okay. And then last but not least. All right, so once you've drawn all 4 of them, then we'll go through and hit apply. Next, so now we're in peaks. We're going to select our peak of interest. Okay, so once we've selected that peak, we'll go ahead and hit apply. And then next, we're going to go to configuration. So if we right click on that, we're going to first do normalize, and we'll just go down and do these 3. So first normalize. Okay. So we'll click normalize, and then we'll hit apply. Then we'll go next down the list, we'll go to alignment. So Okay. All right, and then that would align the signals. So we can hit apply. And next we'll go to band broadening. And then we'll highlight again. And then perform the fit. Okay, and then now we'll hit apply. Okay, and then once we've done that, we can go back to peaks. And then if there are any additional peaks you want to select, you can. So we're going to go ahead and try to get this like side peak that was here. So that's kind of just the shoulder. Oh, just the shoulder. Oh, so we just want to get this like shoulder right here, and we'll go ahead and hit apply. And if there's other peaks, you can feel free to get those. Next we can double click on configuration over here. And then if we go to like solvent, if you wanted to update anything, you could. And if you go to solvent as well, you can change the name. And then another thing you can do, so if we go over to configuration and then details, so if for some reason you didn't know your DNDC to start with and you just kind of estimated it, or you want to find an estimate, if we assume 100% mass recovery and then we hit apply, then we can go into the report and see what it thinks the DNDC is. If it's not already selected, then if you open up the report designer and you go to processing, peaks, define peaks, then you can just make sure to either select or deselect it, and then it'll show up right here. So it's saying it should be about 0.1546, and then for peak 2, it's 0.0205. So if we hit apply, so remember 0.1546. So if we go back to configurations now, under sample, we can then enter that as 0.1546. And then that way we can kind of use their estimate as in the calculations. And then when you go back to configuration, we just want to turn this back off, just so we can, typically we'll get a better concentration that way. We only turned it on to figure out what it estimated the DNDC as. And then now if we go back to report summary, can see molecular weight, maybe a little more accurate. For our sample, it looks really good. So that was some nice data. Other things, so this report, this is kind of how you're going to save your data. So if you right click and then hit print report, you can go ahead and save this and it'll kind of save all your necessary stuff. And you can go ahead and name it. So we can do like test. We'll stick it in someone's folder. So we'll hit save. And that'll go ahead and save the data for us. And if you have Astra, you're welcome to save as, and then save the Astra file under your program. And then, you know, if you have Astra at home or on your own computer, you can use it there. Otherwise, just save it, and if you want to refer back to it, that's also useful. But the printing report, that's how you get your data. Be sure to use a flash drive.